Alright guys, today we're taking a look at my OLED Switch that I recently got, and I wanted to give you guys my top 5 accessories for people who just got the OLED that I think they should buy. Let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a recce is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so the first accessory that we need to talk about that I would recommend everyone get for the Nintendo Switch is the screen protector. Now, the screen protector that I recommend that I've been using on my original Switch and I'm using now again is this one here, that AM film. So these come in a 3-pack, so you can share it with friends if you want to. It's really cheap on Amazon. I'll have the links down below in the description. I believe it was $10 for everything I'm talking about here. I'll have the links in the description. But yeah, this one goes on really well. It comes with, the cleaners and stuff like that to get your Switch prep. Make sure you follow the instructions on the screen protector. And if you do, it goes on really, really well. I have it on mine, as you can see here, and you can barely tell that it's even on. And it works really, really well on the Nintendo Switch, and I'm really happy to, have it on there because it's basically see-through. You wouldn't know it's on there, and it gives it some extra protection because the OLED Switch already technically has a screen protector on that Nintendo put on the screen. It's something you can't remove if it gets damaged or anything like that. So essentially, if it gets scratched, you're still kind of screwed because you can't remove it because Nintendo says it will ruin the screen. So even though there's some protection on there from the OLED screen, it can get scratched. So at least with your screen protector, if that gets scratched, you can remove it and get another one. So highly recommended for your OLED Switch. The next thing I want to talk about here is carrying your Nintendo Switch. Now, for all you guys who don't know, the Nintendo Switch OLED edition is very, very slightly bigger on the sides here. Like, I'm talking about a couple of millimeters here. So fortunately, it does fit on all the cases that we've had before. So you can see here that this is the Switch that I had when I had, my original Switch here, this Splatoon case that I have here. And it still fits perfectly fine. I just go ahead and put this in here just like this. And it still fits in there perfectly, as you can see. And it closes just fine with no issues at all. So if you guys have cases already for your original Nintendo Switch, you should be fine. You should be able to use that case as long as it's a case like this that it just kind of gently fits in there. It works really well. But if not, there is a Nintendo Switch carrying case that came out when the OLED Switch came out, which kind of has like the white, the white controller. It kind of has the accents on the actual case. If you want it all to match perfectly, you could do that as well. So you can look at that in the link in the description below. The next thing that I recommend you guys get for your Nintendo Switch is a screen cleaner. So you can see here, I have my screen cleaner right here. This is the cloth, and this is the one that I recommend. This is called iClear. Technically, it's a cleaner and a polisher for Apple products, but obviously it works for any display and your Nintendo Switch and that screen protector that I have on there. It will get fingerprints. It will get, your it will get a little bit dirty like mine is right now. And this kit is awesome that I have linked down below, iClear. It works really well. I've been using it for like 4 years now for all my Apple products and all my Nintendo Switches and anything with a screen basically, and it works extremely well. You just take the iClear thing, you kind of spray a little bit on here, wipe it off on there, and it works really well. The cloth is really nice and soft. I've actually had this cloth for a while. You can just kind of wash it underneath warm water and let it dry out, and then it will be just as new when you get it again. So this is my recommended cleaning supply that I use, and I've used on all my screen stuff for a long time, so I'll have that link in the description as well. If you guys are interested, this is the one I recommend, but at least get yourself a nice microcloth and a nice screen cleaner to be able to keep that Switch as neat as possible. The next thing we got to talk about is, of course, the micro SD card. The micro SD card slot, we all know on the OLED Switch, it now comes with 64 gigabytes of memory, which is obviously great. And if you just buy physical media only and you never buy a Nintendo Switch digital game, then you could probably get away with 64 gigs for just your game saves and stuff like that and DLC content for a while. But just know that if you do if you do like me, half and half, where I sometimes buy physical and then other times buy digital, 64 gigabytes is nowhere near going to hold anything. I actually have a 1 terabyte card that I use on here that works with my Switch, and even that, sometimes I get close to filling it. I'm like, all right, gotta delete stuff because obviously I review a lot of games and I have a lot of games on the Switch. But I do recommend everyone get an SD card slot, an SD card to put in here. If you're buying digital games, there's the recommended ones that I have down below. If you want to go special and get the Nintendo Switch certified SD card, you can do that as well. That's linked down below. There's Animal Crossing like ones that are obviously more expensive, but if you want to theme the micro SD cards that look like an Animal Crossing, you know, symbol and stuff, you can if you want. But of course, you could just use these scan discs that I have down linked below. That works just as fine, or you can get the special ones. But get something for your Switch because you're going to need that space when you're downloading digital content. And the last thing we're going to talk about here, unfortunately, I don't have one in front of me because they actually come out this month in November. But I have used one in my other previous Switches, and it's one of my favorite accessories to use on the Nintendo Switch. And I'm talking about the Satisfy Grip. Now, the reason that I don't have it anymore for this Switch is because, like I said, this is slightly bigger than the other one by a couple of millimeters, and unfortunately the Satisfy Grip just doesn't fit on this Switch anymore. So if you had the Satisfy Grip on the original Switch and you want to use it on this one, you can't. But they are coming out with a new one that's coming out this month, as you can see here in the pictures, and I'm really, really excited to, you know, get that into my hands because, first of all, I like the color scheme that they're going with. I like the way it looks. And this thing is recommended. Anybody who plays the Switch in handheld mode for over an hour a day knows that eventually it gets uncomfortable and your hands start getting cramped and stuff. This Satisfy Grip solves that problem. It looks great. It feels great in the hands. And if you play handheld, it's definitely my #1 recommendation if you play handheld on the Switch primarily because it makes the Switch so much more comfortable to play it in your hands, and you can play for hours on end and not feel as uncomfortable as you were when you were just using it as is stock. And I can't wait for it to come out in November to be able to purchase mine so I can use it on here. And, you know, because it was great on the original Switch, I have no reason to believe it's not going to be fantastic on the OLED Switch, with the only change being that it's slightly bigger, so they needed to make some adjustments. Alright guys, so that was my top 5 accessories that I think everyone should get when they first get their Nintendo Switch OLED edition. If you guys have your own recommendations, make sure to leave those down below so we can all check those out. And if you guys have any questions about what you guys saw in today's video, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.